Hey everybody, welcome back to our Advent series. My name is Peter, and I'm the youth pastor of the McConnellsburg United Methodist Church.
And I'm Emily, the pastor at the McConnellsburg United Presbyterian Church. Today is December 13th, a Sunday. More specifically, it is the third Sunday of Advent. The first Sunday was hope, second Sunday is peace, and this Sunday is joy.
The pink one.
We finally get to light our pink candle.
Whoop, whoop.
Hope, peace, joy. On Joy Sunday, we think about the joy that is coming to us on Christmas. All season, all Advent, we have been waiting, we've been preparing, and we have been anticipating Christ to come on Christmas. I love that the joy candle is pink because it helps me remember that today is different, that joy is different, and that the joy Christ brings is different than happiness or even the joy that the world can give us. There is something so unique and special about the joy that we find on Christmas. We have been working through this book we have, All Creation Waits, and we found a story that I think goes very well with joy. As you listen to this story about a wood frog, I wonder if you can find some similarities to how joy functions in your life for the frog. What does joy bring you or give you or make you feel that the frog is experiencing in a different way? So listen for that in the story.
This is the place on the trail to the pond where I very nearly stepped on him. Who could blame me? He's painted in the precise colors and patterns of the leaf litter, twigs, and weeds made to be invisible, especially to snakes. A breath before my boot came down on him, I saw him, only because he lunged into deeper leaf cover. That was in September. Another year's leaves layer the ground now, all of them the color of wood frogs, and over the leaves 3 inches of snow. If by X-ray vision I could see under which single leaf the wood frog sits in the shallow bed he's dug, if I were to reach beneath his leaf and snow blanket, he would not leap from me. I could place him in the palm of my hand, a perfect fit, and trace the robber's mask drawn across his jaw. I could stroke the sun-yellow belly, because his sun has gone out. His arteries and veins are frozen canals, the space between his cells filled with ice crystals. His summer apple skin has turned crunchy. His heart is silent as a stone. Not even the weakest current crackles his brain, and he is not dead. He is what scientists call extreme tolerant. Before his tolerance was put to the full test, he had a couple of weeks to practice. In late fall, when temperatures after dark first dropped below freezing, he felt the chill seep in and snake through his body, every atom of him stunned. Whatever was moist tended toward ice. But first, his liver surged, sending a thick, sugary syrup into his cells, plumping them to keep them from the collapse of internal frostbite. He took fewer and fewer breaths, and then woke, gulping in the next day's warmer daylight, his blood moving like a sticky river, cell walls slippery and wet again. When light and temperature dropped away again that night, a cold thumb again suspended his every animation. His world, and he in it, faded to black. And with the morning light came back. In and out, with the light thawing and freezing, the wood frog kept time to the quickening and the cooling of air molecules. One day, he didn't wake. Though the morning air brightened, it did not warm. It stayed the slow cold of ice, so he, tuned precisely to his milieu, stayed ice. He is now and shall be until the rhythm shifts. When the air warms, he will too. If only for a day or a few during a January thaw, he'll find himself in his leaf bed alive and well, and stretch his stiff frog legs. Then he'll let himself go as good as dead again when the cold comes back again, as it will. There will come a warm day in spring when the ice goes out of the ponds, out of his blood, and doesn't return. Then, with dozens of other wood frogs, he'll hop to the pond and send up a thrilling chorus. Death, we've robbed you of your ruin. We've taken you in.
Thank you for reading that. When we first read through that story together, it reminded me that just a few weeks ago, or maybe it was just last week, Peter and I were watching a documentary. It's a nature documentary where they were featuring different animals who were very well adapted at surviving long nights. And this frog, or at least one type of this frog, was featured. And they recorded his process of freezing at night and coming alive again. And it was unreal to see his body go from a wet toad to
crystals appearing on him, and
as if it was just being animated, coming from the top down out to his fingers, and then he's thawing the opposite direction,
starting to blink while the other half of him is still frozen. It was so weird.
It was really neat. So this story made me think of that, and that picture helped me meditate on how joy functions in our life. This time of year, it is cold out, but more specifically, it's dark and things are different than they usually are. This year is so heavy with grief or sorrow or struggle that joy may be a different feeling this year, and we may feel entirely frozen to joy. But the good news is that Christmas is almost here, and joy will be born again with Christ on Christmas. And with that joy, we can begin to thaw ourselves. Like the sunlight helped the frog thaw and come to life again, joy will help us come to life again, and it will in fact be the thing that brings us back to life again. Remarkably, the end of this story for the toad is right around Easter. The last day that he needs to freeze himself is also the last day that we live in a world before the resurrection. It is after this toad comes back to life that we rejoice in our Savior coming back to life as well. I hope that by next Easter, we are able to have completely thawed out from this winter, this autumn, this year's freeze that we have had to go through. But until then, I hope that the idea of joy allows you to at least thaw out some part of you and to enjoy Christmas.
And if not, to at least recognize that joy comes in cycles, and that if you're not thawed out now, you will be soon. Well, that's all we have for you now. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.